My name is Michele Jutrisa, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin Up here in New South Wales, Australia. Thank you very much for joining me today. Today we're going to be looking at some new products on our online exclusive. But first up, please let me welcome you again and jump on, say hello, let me know where you're from. It's always great saying hello to new people. Now, I am a little bit early today. Normally, I would start at 1 o'clock, but due to a medical appointment I have today, I'm starting an hour early. So I'm not quite sure who's going to actually jump on, but please let me know if you're here and say hello. Okay, let me just bring up my desk view. Won't be 1 second. And there we are. Now, this is the new online exclusives. This product is called, sorry, I don't have the name right here. Well, the designer series paper is Botanical Textures. It's all about texture. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you this pamphlet we've got here. We've got some black and white designer series paper. Now, these are also in shades of grey, which is great. You can colour these in, and today I'm doing a little bit of a colouring technique with you. And I'll show you these in real life in a moment. We also have in this as well, I'm just going to disregard that. I thought my phone was switched off, but it fell on the floor. We also have some woven textures in a, like a, what would you call it, cane type weaves. So that's these ones up here, and I'll show you those in a minute. Now, this pack is a little bit different. In this, there is, there's still your 12 sheets, but there's only 3, I think it's 3, maybe 4 sheets. Normally we'd have 6, but there's 4 sheets with double designs, and there's 3 of each of the designs, so you get a little bit more of the same. So less in designs, but it's built up by there's more sheets in each one. So it is priced, I think, a little bit slightly higher. Let me have a look. Normally $21.75. No, it's about the same price, so that works out well. So because with this one here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, I'm wrong. There's, yeah, your 6 here, and there's your 4 there. So you've got, look, I'll show you in a minute. I'm getting myself all mixed up here. Okay, so with this, we've also got a stamp set, which is also with wonderful textured backgrounds that you can use with a couple of different sentiments. It also comes with dies, so it's a bundle, and I'll show you that in a second. It comes with the neutral matte dots, a mini corrugated embossing folder, which I think is fantastic to have, and some white ribbon. So let's get and have a look at this before we get ourselves all more complicated and confused, which I seem to be a little bit at the moment. Okay, so these are the designs that we have in this one. And as you can see, it's like a cane type weave, very textured. These are photographs, so they're actual, they're not drawn or painted. These are actual photographs that they've reprinted. So there's 3 papers. Make sure 1, 2, 3. Let me double check, because that tells me there's 4, but I've definitely got 3 here. So I've got 1, there should be a 4th one. I've left 1 in the packet. I have 2. Hold on 1 second. Good thing I've got it all sitting here beside me. I've left the one which is really stunning out. That's what was confusing me. That one. So there we go. Let me just double check, make sure I'm getting my information correct. So we've got this one here. I should have another 2 sheets of it. Yes. So we've got 3 designs of each, 3 sheets of each design. And we've got 4 designs, and they're back and front. So we've got different design on each side. So really you end up with 8 designs and 3 of each sheet. So we've got these 4. So you've got this one here, which is circular. It's like the bottom of a basket. This one here is a little bit more like a herringbone, type basket weave. This one here, which is a little bit coarser, a little bit darker. And then they've got this one here, which is like almost like a sisal type, like carpet type pattern. Also in that cane type thing. And if we flip it over, you've got this one here, which is like very much like a linen-y type plain weave, but it's definitely like in a grass type effect. A nice big chunky one. Very, very fine. That is more sort of probably towards your fine linen. And you got that, just that little bit of variation in colour in it. And then this one here, which is more of a basket weave in those. So let me just get that correct. We've got 4 sheets for double-sided design, which gives you 8 designs. And the pack comes in 3 of each sheets. Okay, so that's that one. Excuse me. The next one that we have, and I've cut these into smaller pieces just so I can show them a lot easier. So these are the black and white. This one here is called, so the other one is called Woven Textures. This one is Botanical Textures. So again, just all your textures, but they've used leaves and flowers and things. So it's more leaf type texture, but I mean, there's little splodges here. Could be like leaves. But you've got that one. I'll pop them up here so you can see them. So yeah, this one's white with more your blacks and your greys. This one's black background with more your whites and your greys. This one here is the reverse of that one, which is your white background with your blacks and greys. This one here is more of a hand-drawn with few of the areas coloured in. This one, which I think is, to me, like it is now, doesn't really do a lot for me. But just wait and see what I'm going to do with it. And I think it just comes up really fantastic. But I do love the texture in that one. And then this one here, which is very similar, just like a hand-drawn with a bit of shading and everything in it. Now, if we flip these over, you've got some really great background textures here. So just be aware when you're cutting, say, maybe these two here, because there is a stripe in it. I've cut it with my stripe going up and down. So depending on which way you cut it to which way you're going to get your stripe if you're wanting to use the reverse side as well. So just check that one before you cut. But these other ones I didn't think mattered so much. This one here is almost sort of like, I reckon you could mottle that with different colours to give different types of flower effects. So really very quite stunning paper, and I always love good black and white to give us some variation. Okay, so that's our designer series paper, so I'll pop those over there. Now let's have a look. Textured Notes, the stamp set. So this is the stamp set that goes with that bundle. And it's a bundle because you've got the dies that go with it as well. So again, we've got that round textured piece there, and that stamps up beautifully. I haven't stamped this one yet, but I have seen it stamped up on a few different things, and it looks fantastic. You've got another weave one here, and then you've got some flowers. You've got 3 beautiful sentiments. So you've got, "You are seriously the best, thank you," and a little note of appreciation. So I think really nice little sentiments. And then with that, because as I said, that is the bundle, and that bundle is, let me just move this over. Okay, so this is a Textured Notes bundle, and they've also got the dies that go with this. So this is the Textured Note dies, and look at those dies. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a long thin one, 8th die there for rectangles. So really great for sentiments, really great for if you want to create a lovely little textured border around your card, even if you're scrapbooking. I wouldn't do this on my photo, but I mean, hey, you could. But you could put a little bit of texture and have that as like a matted piece going around a photo. So you'd have cut out a mat and then cut your photo down to fit within the inside of that. I think could look quite effective. So very, very nice. and just something a little bit different to what we've had before. Then we have the mini corrugated 3D embossing folder, and I am going to use this today in my project. So really getting back to what we used to have years ago with the corrugation. And you could use this. It's a big one. It's about 6 inches, I believe. Yep, 6 inches square. So you could have your cardstock going with the corrugation going across or the corrugation going down. It's really up to you which way you want to make that. And then we have, let's remove those. Let's get in here and get these embellishments. So we've got 2 different embellishments. One is the natural matte dots. So you've got these lovely dots. Let me just take it out of the packaging. I'll pop them into. That way you can see them a little better. They're slightly raised and they've got a flat top. So they're not sort of circular on top. They're sort of circular a little bit on the sides, but then the top has just been flattened. So again, something I think very nice. And they are very matte and look fantastic. And they will work with a lot of different projects, I'm sure. And then we have our ribbon. So that ribbon is very nice. I don't know whether you can actually, there we go. So you can see that. Hello, Wendy. Thank you for joining us. And that's got a little bit of that weave texture on that as well. Now, one thing I did notice about this one yesterday, and I'm not going to do this too much because otherwise I'll run out of ribbon, but if you'd like to pull your ribbon apart and have like a little bit of a tassel effect, this ribbon pulls apart very, very easily. Let me cut that off. Grab my scissors here. I'm just going to cut a piece off here. But I can pull that thread and it pulls apart really, really, really well. Probably a little bit too easy in some respects, but you could make a little tassel there, and even that's the piece I'm pulling. If I just wrap that around, see if I can do this. Quite fine, so it's a little bit fiddly. You could easily just sort of wrap that around, and I'd probably have another little piece. There's a bit there coming off, tie it in a bow, and you could have a nice little tasseled piece on your card, or pull it all out and have some fine threads coming out. So really nice textured ribbon, and probably would colour quite well. I might give that a little bit of a try in a minute when I'm colouring my cardstock like I want to show you. So they're the products that come with this online exclusive. Now, as I've said before, with bundles like this, you can purchase the whole bundle and receive everything. There is one code or one order number or SKU, whatever you want to call it, to order the whole complete bundle, but you don't have to. You can order just those individual bits and pieces. So the whole bundle suite collection comes to $176.25. So if you're interested in getting that, that's available now on my online store, and that will give you everything that I have showed you. So that's the 2 designer series papers, the stamps, and the coordinating dies. Coordinating in the fact that they go together as a bundle, but they don't cut out each other. They just cut out those lovely rectangles. And then you also have the matte dots, the mini corrugated embossing folder, 3D embossing folder, and that white ribbon. So let me get started and show you what I thought we could do today. Yeah, I've only just received this yesterday, actually, Wendy. So this is my first play with it as well. So, yeah, bear with me. Okay, so what I thought I would start with, I'm going to start with a basic black card base. And, of course, I love my tent folds. So this is 10.5 by 29.9, and I've scored it at 14.9 centimetres. Now, I will hopefully over the weekend get this all written up onto my blog, and that way you can have both the imperial and the metric measurements for you. I've then cut, now these pieces, I'm going a little bit back to front here. This is going to be my insert. So I've cut a piece of crumb cake, and I've cut that at 10 by 14.4, and I've cut a piece of basic white, which is 9.7 by 14.1. So they are going to go on the inside of my card, and I am going to decorate this maybe a little bit, so I'm not going to glue that in just yet. But for the outside of my card, I've cut another piece of crumb cake. Now this piece here I've cut at 9.5 by 13.9. So I've made it about a centimetre smaller overall. So it's about, what we would say, so we've gone from 10.5, which is the outer, to 9.5. Yeah, so it's about a centimetre. So it's about half a centimetre all the way around that. And we're actually going to run this piece through the corrugated embossing folder. So let's do that right now. So I'll just grab my, I don't want to lose that piece of ribbon because I want to do something with that. I'm going to grab this out, and of course we need our mat 4 and mat 1. And they're the only two pieces we need. So I'm just going to pop that around on the side so you can see. And we've got our folder here, and I'm going to pop this in here, trying to get it nice and straight, lined up with those stripes. So we have our nice, and I'm going to have my stripes going across, or my corrugation. Pop that in there, and then we're going to run that through our cut and emboss. And that should end up giving us a piece of mini corrugation just like that. Now the only thing I do want to do is check my sizing on this, because it can shrink up a little bit, so I may need to just even those measurements out a little bit. So let's just have a quick look. What I say, yeah, I've lost probably about 3 mil, because I cut that at 13.9 and it's now down to about 13.6, 13.7. But I'm not going to worry about it too much, because I still think that's just going to dissipate over the top. So that's just going to give us that little bit of texture like that. I'm not going to rough the edges up, but of course if you wanted to, you could rough all the edges up on that, but I'm not going to worry about that for this particular card. Now, what I have done here, I've taken those strips of designer series paper and I've cut it into lengths of 2 centimetres by 15. Now, I am going to shorten these, but I am going to shorten them probably by tearing, just to give it a little bit of extra texture. But first off, I wanted to colour these up a little bit. I also don't need to use all of these. I just thought we'd play with them and see which one's going to look the best. But I am going to be only using 4 of these. So what I want to do is actually colour these up with my ink pad, just like what I've done here. And I thought I'd show you how I've done that. Now, I did do one of the other pieces, which was this one here, and it came up beautifully. I really thought that it just really picked up, I'm just making sure I got the right one, picked up the sort of the lights and darks in the cardstock. With this one here, the leaf has just got a very fine white line, but when I coloured it, it's sort of, that line stands out just that tiny little bit more. So let me show you how I've done this. And I'm not going to decide which ones of these I'm going to use until I've coloured them all up. So I need a scrap piece of paper, which I'm going to pop underneath. And I'm going to do these very easily and very simply. and we'll work one at a time. So I was talking about this one a minute ago, so that's the one I'm going to use. And I'm going to colour these with the Summer Splash ink. So when I open up my ink pad here on this side almost goes to the top, and I've got a gap here. So I'm going to be using this edge here. Now, you will lose a lot of ink from here. So after you've done this, you might either need to, 1, re-ink it, or 2, get a back of a spoon and just push that ink back there, because we are going to be using a lot of that ink along the bottom. So let's have a look, and we're going to scrape this. Now, the reason why I've got this 15 centimetres is I can then choose where I want to get it. Now, if you go through on your first swipe, if you looked at this, that was one swipe, and there's light areas and there's dark areas. Don't worry about it. Use it. I mean, it could just give you that bit of effect. Or if you don't want that, just go over it a second time. So what I'm going to do is just hold it at the top, get my ink pad, and just wipe it over. Now, I just wanted to put a little bit more colour into that, and I'm going to swipe that over again because I'm lifting it up too much at that end. But it's really sort of brought out those white areas. I think this little one down here, you can really see that white spine of the leaf really well. Okay, so we're going to do that with each one of these, and as you can see, my ink is getting a little bit lighter there. So I may need to purchase myself or grab my re-inker and re-ink it. So let's try this one. So this one here is more of an outline type image. And again, now the more you have it up on an angle or lower on the angle, the better your coverage is going to be. Okay, and the flatter you have it to your surface, you won't get like a little bit of a splodge like that. But I'm not worrying about that because we've got enough room there we can tear it off. This one here, again, I might just grab a spoon here and just push my ink back down because I am losing quite a bit of ink. So I just want to move some of that ink back down. And we're going to go again. So I'm keeping my ink pads fairly low. And it doesn't matter if you've got to go over it a few times and get some nice texture on it. It's all going to give that nice effect. So here's another one with the black background. And again, I'm going to do that just a couple of times just to get the coverage there I want. That's because my ink is I'm using up all that ink at that top end. So again, I'm just going to go over that just to bring that ink down. This does use up a lot of ink, this technique, so just be aware of that. I must admit, I haven't bought the re-inkers for these, so I think I'm going to need to now. Okay, so that's that one. Let's take this one. So there's that one. So that's just a really quick way of colouring your cardstock. Now you can even colour these if you want with your watercolour pencils. You can colour them with your blends. It's really up to you. I just wanted to do something that was really quick and simple. You can even colour this in different directions. So if you want a little bit of a textured effect, let me just grab one of these other ones that I've got here. Let's say this one here. If I want a bit more of a textured effect, what I can do is go in one direction and then I'm going to turn this around and colour it. Whoops, pull it down in a different direction. So you can get a little bit of, you take it all from different spots, slightly different angles, just so then you get more of a variegated effect all over. So that's just something else that you could also do. Okay, so there's all our pieces all coloured. We don't need that one. But as you can see, it does use up quite a bit of ink. So you do need to probably have some re-inkers. So this is what we're going to use now to pop on here. And I'm just going to leave my base piece here for the moment and just work on this. And what I want to do is work out what sort of lengths and where I want this to be. Now, I do want a torn edge. And I probably want about that length. Now I'm going to tear these, just tear the edges off. I can just choose which ones I want to use. As I said, I only need 4 of these. I don't need all of them. But I really like these textures here rather than these drawn sort of ones. So let's just keep going with this. And I'm going to tear that one. And you can tear them shorter. You can have them all different lengths. Because all we're going to do is just layer these all up. And I'm going to probably go dark, light, dark, light. Now this is still fairly damp with all that ink, so it is a little bit flimsy here. But once that starts drying, it will gain some of its body again. And then we have this one. We don't want so much white, so let's just rip that a little bit differently. So we're going to place that onto there. Let me just remove those from the inside. So we're going to have those sort of going on there almost like that, and I don't mind those lengths. So let's just glue all of that down. Now just, excuse me one second, just close the door. Just had to get my husband to close the door because I've left the door open. Okay, so let's just pop a little bit of glue on the back here. And I'm just going to start by popping one of these down. Now you don't have to put them on straight. You can have them on slightly at an angle. I'm not taking the glue all the way top and bottom, just putting the glue in the middle there a little bit, just in case I want to tear off a bit more those pieces. Now I want to try to keep the same distance I've got here on this side over to this side here. So I want to be very aware of how much further I can go across, how much I'm overlapping. So you want to overlap them a little bit. Now this one's probably a little bit taller, so I'm going to bring him maybe or even slightly more at an angle. And then the last one. Again, being aware of that distance from the edge, and I've slightly angled that across there. So that's just giving us that nice bit of texture. Now, while we've already coloured this one up here, I want some texture to go on my insert pieces as well. So I'm going to grab my paper trimmer. And since we've already coloured this, I'm going to cut another strip because this is the same as one of the other papers, so 2 centimetres. Don't want to lose that piece, we want that. So this piece here I'm going to glue down. Onto there. And then this piece here, I think I still want to have a bit of a torn effect. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to tear the bottom part as well. And I'm not worried about whether it's shorter, because really I just want that nice torn effect like I've got on the front of my card. So I'm replicating that on the inside. And I might just bring that in a little bit. So then it's not right up to the edge. So I've got all those little layers like that. Just bring that up a little bit more if I can. There we go. And now that can be glued on the inside of my card. Making sure that I've got that positioned where I want it to be. And that's all. So that's the inside of my card done. The only thing I haven't done is I just want to burnish my fold there just to make sure that that stays nice and folded. And you don't need those pieces, so let's just take those out of the road and bring in our card base. Now, what I've decided to stamp my sentiment in is I'm going to stamp it in basic grey, and the sentiment I'm using is you are seriously the best. So I just thought, well, that could be just, used for anything. It could be used as a thank you. It could be used even for a birthday. These could even make great cards for men because it's really not depicting any sort of male or female. And you can colour them. You could colour that up in your pinks if you wanted your pinks, or more earthy tones if you wanted more earthy tones. It even look really great using, I was going to say terracotta tile, but I don't think we've got that anymore. But any of those sort of rust type colours would look good. So I'm just going to stamp this just there for the moment because I'm not quite sure yet how long I want to make it. But I didn't want to do that in just a heavy black. I just wanted it to be like a softer, so that's why I've gone for the basic grey. Now I'm going to trim this down a bit. I've just got my trimmer here. So I don't need all this length. I'm not measuring that up as yet because I don't know yet whether we pop that onto there. I want to do this a little bit narrower, but do I do it? Because I was thinking of doing it slightly narrower still. Okay, I think I am going to do that. So let me just trim this up. Now, I do want it to be not long and thin, but I want a little bit of width in it. So I'm just going to cut it there. I've lined up. I find areas on my trimmer and use that as a straight line. So I'm using the bottom of the words and lining them up. I don't want that. I probably want, now I'm lining it up that straight edge, or what I believe to be fairly straight, against my 3/4 of an inch, or just about under 2 centimetres. So I'm cutting this also about that 2 centimetre width. And I just want to go, that's going to go just that little bit over. So I'm going to go just a smidgen over my length. So I'm not cutting it too close to the end, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So I'm cutting this around about a bit more than 8 centimetres. There's 8 centimetres. Probably only about 8.1 or something like that. Because I want that to go, like to border those, but it's just that little bit wider. But what I've got here, I've got some twine here, baker's twine, and that's also in the crumb cake. You could also use, I'll tell you what could look nice is the black. In that. let's have a look. Now, this is a new reel. So I did have an idea, but I've got these. I haven't used these as yet. These are a new product. Also on the online exclusives, and it's the hole punch assortment pack. So there's 3 different punches in this. Gee, they've got a lot of plastic on these. Three different punches. And just so I can show you what each punch does. So this one's just a little hole punch, so it just will punch out. It tells you 1/8 of an inch hole, which is just a nice little hole. This one here, so these are great for tag toppers. So if you want to make some tags, so that one cuts out that little one there. Cajun Craze, yeah, that's Wendy, thank you, yeah. And then this one cuts out a slit. So even with that slit, where's that piece of ribbon I had? Where's the whole roll? You could thread, I mean, you could even go a wider ribbon than that, but that'll thread quite well through there. But there was something I was going to do with that little piece of ribbon. Here we are. Let's go back a little bit. Let's grab my scrap here. We're talking about colouring things. I'm wondering how this would go, because usually when I colour my ribbon, I colour it with my blends. But the only problem is it can damage the nibs on your blends. But if you colour that with just your ink pad as well. And that will colour up probably quite well. First couple of rounds is just hitting all those high points, but if you hold your ink pad on there, yeah. So that's just something a little bit different to play with. Wendy, we must be copying each other. We know good products when we see it. So, yeah, so you can play with colouring your ribbon if you want a bit of texture on there. But anyway, that's our punches, and I was thinking, but I think I maybe have cut that a little bit too. Yeah, I don't think I want to put a punch on there. I was going to put a hole either side and then have my ribbon threaded through. But I think what I want to do is take this, and I'm thinking of the black. I was going to do, let's just have a look. So if we wrap that around. I like to wrap these around about 3 times, an odd number. Just going to cut that off just so then it's not playing around with me. And I'm going to tuck that underneath there. You can either tie a knot or tie a bow. It's really up to you. I'm actually looking at maybe just doing, I might just do a knot and just have tails hanging. Just want to bring those down just that little bit. When you emboss your cardstock, it does lose a little bit of the firmness of the cardstock. So just be very aware that embossed cardstock is a little bit softer because you've already started breaking up the fibres. And then that is just going to go over the top. And I don't even think I'm going to take that straight. We might even add, where is that ribbon? You can add a bit of ribbon, or you could even add some texture with the stamps as well. Just don't know whether, let's just have a look by tying this in a bow and just sort of seeing. The only reason I'm tying it in a bow, because I sort of want this to be slightly more masculine, is it just gives a bit more of illusion not so much of a bow because I'm going to cover the bow up, but just a thread. Yeah, I think I like that. I just want that sort of thread effect coming out from either side just to help it. Okay, so now we've got a bit more of an idea of what we're doing. Let's remove all of that. Let's grab our dimensionals, and because we're using black base, I'm going to use my black dimensionals, and I'm going to pop them underneath. We're going to need a few more than this. When I put ribbon or anything like that, on my card fronts, I like to use dimensionals to lift it up, so then you don't get all the sort of the bulk of that ribbon underneath. Okay, and I think I just need a little bit more. I just want another one there. I've got all just end pieces, so this is going to be good. This is using some of this up. So I want another one there. Want another one there. No wasting here. And I just want another one just to go in there, just so we don't get any sagging on our card. Just be very careful when you push this down, because being corrugated, you don't want it. You want to keep the corrugation. You could very, very easily, if you push down too firmly, you could flatten your corrugation out. Because all corrugation is doing is just giving you a zigzag effect. So get all those backings off. Okay, so that's my bottom, and I do want this with that. Just going to lay that down gently. Hopefully I've got it nice and square. Yep. So just patting that down just to make sure it's adhered, but not so much that I'm bending all that out of shape. Get rid of all of this. Get rid of all this rubbish as we go. You won't have it at the end. And let's grab our sentiment. And I'm just going to grab some white dimensionals here. And again, I think I might just use up these edges, because I really want to have some going up and down. It's going to go over that ribbon a little bit, so I don't really want to have it all on. It's running down through the middle. I want to leave a bit of space in the middle there so that ribbon can sit in there. Okay, let's pull these off. Pop that on there. Now it's up to you whether you want to do it straight or whether you want to do a bit of an angle. Let's just bring this bow more around that way so we can pop that over the top. Let me just have a look. It's really good having this corrugation, because it sort of almost gives you that straight line. It shows me where I'm straight, where I'm not so straight. Yep, I'm happy with that. And the only other thing I want to pop on there is some of these. Oh, suppose, Wendy, it's sort of like if you throw them away, you've got to buy more. But, yeah, I wouldn't be throwing them away. No, you reuse them. Now, you've got a choice here because we've basically the three colours we've got is that colour there is almost like they say what colour they've made it to. Let's have a look. Because to me, what they've got is pecan pie, basic beige, black and white. So that's a pecan pie, basic beige. So it's not even an ivory, which is nice. I like having the basic beige. Probably prefer basic beige than I do to the very vanilla. I find the very vanilla very yellow. So we've got the black, and I even think that this colour works in really well with that crumb cake. So I'm thinking just to bring up a little bit more of this, I'm going to be using, because I'm not usually a big embellishment person, but I'm actually going to use the pecan pie just to give it that little bit more beige to it. And am I going to just leave it at that? So I'll just pop 3 there into a bit of an angle. You've got that there. I think I'm actually going to leave it at that. You could, if you wanted to, put another 1 or 2 up there, but I don't know whether I need that. I think just there, I think simple, because I just wanted this card to be quite a simple card to create. I didn't want it too flashy. I give away a lot of these cards to a lot of customers I have with my sewing, and I get a lot of men. So having something like this that I can give to a male customer would actually be quite handy. Hello, Lena. Thank you very much for joining us. So there we go. So that's my card for today. There's the inside. So we've looked at this paper. We've coloured it up. Created quite a very simple, letting that paper be the highlight of it. But as I said, you could colour it with your ink pads. You can colour it with your pencils. It's really up to you, or your blends. It's really up to you how you want to do it. Now, I've pretty much got the same colour all the way through, but you could add extra texture by having different textures in your paper, sort of like lights and darks in different areas. Yeah, it's going to be quite popular. Actually, I'm looking forward to doing some scrapbooking with it as well, because I think because it's not feminine and you can make it whatever colour you want. I've got all boys in my family. I mean, 4 sons and a husband, so I sort of get a little bit tired of having everything in pinks and all that sort of thing and trying to make things look more masculine. So I think something like this is going to work really well. And plus, I live in the country, and my boys all did scouting, so having these sort of textures is going to work really, really, really well. So thank you very much for joining me. I'm sorry that, normally I'm on at 1 o'clock, but just because I've got a medical appointment today, I've had to bring it forward a little bit. Otherwise, I would have been pushing it too much to get myself across to Mittagong to get to that appointment. So I will either later on today or probably more likely on the weekend get this written up and on my blog. So if you want to use the measurements, you can. But it's just a very, very simple little card and just very, very effective with all the elements from this suite. So as I said before, if you want to purchase the suite through me, you can do that at michele.jutrisa.stampinup.net. You can purchase it as a complete collection, which is $176.25 Australian, or you can get the individual pieces to it. So you've got 2 packs of designer series paper, you've got a stamp set and dies, which you can purchase as a bundle, and that gives you that 10% off. And then you have 3 embellishments, if you'd like to think of it that way. You've got your dots, you've got your mini corrugated embossing folder, and then you've got that white ribbon. And the white ribbon and the embossing folder is probably the only 2 things that we really haven't touched on today in using. So thank you for joining me. If you miss the live, you can always catch this on YouTube as a replay. And I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. Here in Australia, things are really starting to interest up with the hurricane happening north. So I'm hoping and praying that all our friends up in Queensland and top end of New South Wales are all keeping safe and okay. So take care. Thank you again. And we'll see you next week back again at 1 o'clock. Okay, so see you next Friday. Bye for now.